Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique, and today I'm talking about how to break through that weight loss plateau. Woo! What a conversation. I hope you're all having a wonderful week thus far. That's right. Video 2 of the week. What's up, everybody? Trying to get back in that YouTube algorithm. Anyways, doesn't matter for you. You're like, Steven, tell me. Yeah, gets to a point where we all hit that spot where we're working really hard. We're moving a lot. We're doing a lot of cardio. We're working hard in the gym. Our food is low. Our sleep isn't great. We're peeing all the time because we're drinking all the water. And it's just frustrating. Why can't I get that extra last couple pounds off? Why am I stalling? What is going on here? So I want to talk about a couple methods of how we get past that plateau, that stopping point, that just kind of brick wall of weight loss and when it stops happening. My first one is going to be real straightforward and simple, and it's just make sure that everything that you're doing is accounted for and correct. Make sure that we're weighing out the right foods, all the simple stuff. We want to make sure we have the simple stuff out of the way first and foremost. That can sometimes be an easy answer for why maybe we're not seeing progress, and simple stuff, right? It's only simple for those of you who have been doing it a long time. Those are the things that have to come first and foremost. Make sure that we are in fact being consistent with our exercise, with our cardio. We're accounting for that, right? We're being consistent with our food making measurements and how we're getting that, and that we are in fact eating what we think we're eating. We're preparing probably most of our food so we know what's in the food and what we're getting. Yep, all that good stuff. So my number one is just make sure the bottom end is set. Make sure that baseline is covered. Once that baseline is covered, that's when everything else really starts to come into play for making sure that we are in fact continuing to get that progress. And that's when we can start talking about the other things. And I think what a lot of the other things all will have in common is managing our stress response, managing how we're recovering from everything and how we can continue to improve through that. So what we can see sometimes is that we get so high stress, whether that's physiological, psychological, and normally a mixture of both, that everything else kind of suffers. And so even though we might cut calories down beyond a certain point, we don't step as much. We don't move to change the channel. We don't get the same kind of expenditure during our cardiovascular activity. All that kind of stuff. So let's talk about some ways that we can manage stress both physiologically and psychologically during our dieting processes. All right, everybody, so my number one thing that I like to talk about in terms of how do we break through the weight loss plateau, it's gonna seem crazy, but it's honestly this: making sure your sleep is good. That's my number one. If we are not sleeping, we're not having quality recovery from all of our exercise. That means all of our stress hormones are up. The normal hormonal changes that happen overnight during sleep aren't happening. We're not getting quality recovery, and that can throw a wrench in all the gears. So first and foremost, one of the things we really want to focus on is sleep. And not only the amount of sleep that we get, because that is also obviously very important, but the quality of sleep that we get. So making sure that we're doing the right things to prioritize our sleep health. So that might be having a quiet environment. Blackout curtains could help for us. Making sure that we're, if we need it, not having caffeine within a certain amount of time towards bedtime. Keeping our exercise a certain amount of time away from our bedtime and from when we're going to sleep. All those things can benefit us in terms of our ability to get us to sleep and to stay asleep. Sometimes for those of us where maybe our mind keeps going, maybe a short little meditation session before bed is a great way for us to help to calm down all those thoughts and get a better night's sleep. So my number one, sleep. All right, so what's my number two that I like to talk about? It's stress management. And so I come outside for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, there can be easy ways to improve your stress management just by keeping things the same, but maybe changing the environment. And so here in Florida, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, the weather is great. maybe it makes sense for me to take my cardio outdoors. And that can do a couple of different things for us. First and foremost, what it is it called green exercise, exercising in nature, out and about, getting some sun in. And so that can do us a lot of good in terms of stress management techniques. And it's actually a very normal stress management technique that we see in a lot of our stress management books. Go outdoors for a walk. Go get some of that UV exposure. There's just this interaction that we have when we get out, we're in the sunlight, we're in the daylight. And so that might mean taking our time outside and walking. Maybe we get some 10-minute walks in to help with digestion. Or we could also double up. If we've been really killing it on the cardio, having very high intensity, something that's difficult and takes a lot of recovery from our bodies, something like maybe the stairs or really tough sprints, it might make sense to just come outside for a walk. So not only are we getting this awesome opportunity to have green exercise stress management in our lives, awesome, but now we also get the opportunity to really prioritize our recovery, to allow less physiological stress, to really just take it back, take a break, and allow our body to recover a little bit so that we're not necessarily overdoing it quite as much. What we can see a lot of times just from this alone, whether it be sleep, managing our cardio, a mixture of both, and these are only two, is that we can see a lot of drop in weight just from the inflammatory response of us beating ourselves up. Maybe hold some water weight, and sometimes that can help us to look a little bit crisper and just tighter in general. And of course, the one that we all care about, helps the scale go down. All right, and of course, the last one's in the kitchen, right? Oof. My last one that I want to talk about today is something that we call diet breaks and refeeds. So we know that sleep can have a big impact in terms of how we reset, we rest, and we recover physiologically, but that can also psychologically have a huge impact on us. Cool. So we're hitting it from both ends in terms of our sleep management and recovery there. We also know that something like stress management can really help, right? Things like green exercise or managing the amount of physiological stress can really help. Bringing down maybe the expenditure and the demands that we're placing on our body, things that are creating a lot of inflammatory response. Absolutely. Those are a couple of really great ways and things to be aware of to help us make progress. What about this one? What about our food? What about what we're putting into our bodies and how we're processing that? Obviously, yes, food matters. And this one is gonna blow a lot of our minds, simply because it seems so counterintuitive. Remember, if we are doing so much, we don't have any room to go there, sometimes it makes sense to take a step back and really look at what we're doing. So the last one is something I like to call refeeds and or diet breaks. I'm kidding, I'm not the only one that calls it that. But refeeds and diet breaks can also be a wonderful way to help us recover, address that stress response, and continue seeing results. Now, they can also do some other things in terms of obviously restoring glycogen, which can help us to get better calorie expenditure in cardio and in our exercise sessions. But one of the other things that it helps do is keep our metabolisms up and going. It can also possibly help with our hormonal health. If you've ever had a nice big meal after you've been dieting for a while and you just kind of feel a little bit happier, right? You feel a little bit more energetic. If you're like me, anytime you get a lot of good food in you, you kind of get the energy going. You're ready to move, you're ready to do stuff. Refeeds and diet breaks can do the exact same thing. Again, when we are dieting hard, lots of cardio, training hard, doing a lot of dieting, like calories are low, we're beating ourselves up. So sometimes getting ourselves back to a level where we can really get that intensity back in the gym, maybe we get some extra steps during the day because we're feeling a little better, maybe we take the dogs out for a walk. All those things add up to our calorie expenditure. Remember, at some point when we continue to cut and cut and cut, we hit that place in life and in the diet where we don't want to get up to change the TV remote. We don't want to do anything. And so at some point, we have to take that into consideration. We have to make sure that we recover and we get better. So my three main ways for us to manage getting through that plateau is really looking at sleep. Are we sleeping well? And if we're not, how are we addressing that? Are we doing the right things to make sure that we're getting enough sleep and quality sleep? Are we managing our stress? Absolutely. Can we utilize things like green exercise, meditation, or changing some things up, dropping cardio maybe even, taking some days off from the gym, right? And are we utilizing things like refeeds and diet breaks to help make sure that one, mentally we're still on the diet, two, we're getting intensity in our workouts and cardio, we're not losing expenditure because of all of that fatigue, and three, obviously we're making sure that we're doing everything we can to take care of our metabolisms and the hormones that help as we continue through that dieting phase. Now, I hope that helped everybody. Man, that's a lot. Hit that subscribe button and I'll talk to you soon.